Alright, how's it going, my magnificent sons of bitches? And I've decided to come back and explain exactly why, because I did a video, basically, doing an election prediction. I did, the Republicans winning the 2024 presidential election pretty substantially. I think it was like 533 to 6 is what I had the Republicans winning it at. And, kind of explain exactly why I believe this. It's like not just tongue in cheek, it's legitimate of where I think that the country has always been destined to go. And that's going to be radically right. Now, what happens after 2024? It's left up for us to decide pretty much. I have my speculations. I have my where exactly I think I'm going to go. I think that a lot of Christians do have, and it's a cautionary tale. But with this being said, I wanted to go ahead and explain the true platform of the Democrat parties, because what you have going on in politics right now is both parties dilapidating into singled issues. For the Republicans, it's the border control. Oh, we need border control. Look at all these caravans over here, and that's all fake. It's a psychological operation, essentially. And on the Democrat side, the unhonest position of the Democrats is a woman's right to choose. Now, we know that the Democrats unequivocally don't believe in people's rights to individual freedoms. This is just not only is it just a foregone conclusion, it is a unequivocal fucking fact that the Democrats don't believe in personal rights. And that's not going to be argued. I'm not going to sit here and allow anybody an opportunity to even debate this position, because they're National Socialists. You know what I'm saying? And essentially, they're lean more towards the communist aspect. They're statists. That's what they are. So, the true platform and where we're at in their day-to-day operations and how they believe that the government should go ahead and facilitate society. We'll go ahead and start off with the first position of the Democrats, fully fucking explained, is Keynesian economics. This is whenever you started to get a lot of that stimulus money and Barack Obama doing the Obama phones and them just giving money out to the people that are on welfare. Now, Keynesian economics is a kind of like a formula or way to go ahead and control supply and demand. It's a bunch of macroeconomics, and it's just not stimulus, but that's basically one of the main ingredients to the disaster that is Keynesian economics, and why it's not as effective as those people in these higher ends of academia pretend that it is. And we've seen this play out already in Zimbabwe. They fooled around and put these little macroeconomics that have been prone to fail. And mind you, that the Democrats totally understand that this shit was going to fail the whole fucking time. Back from 2012, 2013, you had a lot of economists here on YouTube, on the YouTube platform that I'm on, going ahead and explaining exactly in detail how this would fail. And it was free access to anybody who wanted to learn and understand economics. These guys like Fabian for Liberty and various other channels that would go ahead and monitor the situation of a global economical reset, which they've been trying to push for a couple of decades now, quite a few decades, probably 4 decades by now. But this was the foundation for where the left would go. You had a lot of Obama stimulus packages back in 2013, 2014, and they were basically printing out cheap dollars to go ahead and give to their voters, which was pretty much more of a welfare class type of system. And these, this was supposed to somehow stimulate the economy, because in their theorized version of it, They give money people to money who don't earn the money. You know what I'm saying? They give money to these people that are, living in poverty class or whatever it is. If they just give them cheap, free capital, they'll spend it, put it back in the economy. This will stimulate the economy, much like tax cuts do. This isn't how this works, because whenever you won't go ahead and print out a dollar, you print it at the expense of the people who are essentially being productive members of society, putting in production into society, and making society overall better. For you to go ahead and print that money out and give it to people like, a fucking coupon or something at, for fucking Sears and Robux and shit, you're going to go ahead and devalue that dollar. At the same point in time, you've got to go ahead and accumulate that money again, and you're accumulating it from the middle class, the people who are being productive in society, the people who are putting out a quality product or putting out, quality work and are just being productive members of society. You're doing it at their expense to go ahead and subsidize people who are not being as productive members of society. Some of these people were already on government subsidies, so you're just essentially giving the money. You're taking money away from the people who earned it and giving it to the people who don't earn it. This is like a reverse Robin Hood type of metric, and we can see exactly how this causes inflation, which is what we're having to deal with right now. So this is the first position. The Keynesian economics position is the first position, the first true position of the Democrats that they don't really like to sit there and talk about. They would rather go ahead and keep you dumbed down with a single issue. So let's go back into let's go to the next issue, which is state-controlled propaganda. Now, we understand that Barack Obama did pass that Smith-Mundt Modernization Act, H.R. 5736, which essentially ended up destroying any kind of reliability in your mainstream media. It became pay-to-play. It became, it kind of fractured society to a degree, where every side was basically being an extremist from one position to another. And, they used this mainstream media to go ahead and push some of the more radicalized aspects of, say, like Obama's plans and whatnot. This is where myself started to come out. This is where various others started to go ahead and come out and started to fight back against this mainstream media radicalized propaganda when they were trying to go ahead and implement your LGBTQ to be more of a Labor Party-esque type of union base, to where they could go ahead and use the LGBTQ initiative to go ahead and boycott and use that to try to regulate, along with the unions, some aspects of trade and business and yada yada. Then you had the BLM aspect, where that was supposed to be like the Red Army was for the communists, to go ahead, loot, riot, steal, go ahead and have some sort of law resistance against what they would consider the patriarchy, to go ahead and overthrow most of society. Unfortunately for them, the internet was starting to go ahead and take off, so you started to get a balance with the internet coming out, going against these people, saying that these people were wrong, that they were pretty much statist, Marxist, propagandists, and that's all they were. At first, people would come out and have essentially what I think are mostly superficial reactions, not really that organic reactions to these stories, but they were like your George Floyd and your Casey Anthony. These are made for TV dramas, is what they are. You go ahead and take your mass shootings and whatnot, your psychological operations that were used to go ahead and social engineer Americans to be more radicalized and go against their constitutional rights in every aspect. Unfortunately, this was halted by what like I said, as a Christian, I see it as the apocalypse. Whenever the internet started to come out and people were able to go ahead, do like I'm doing right now, come out and make a video and expose this stuff, that kind of put a halt to their plans. But essentially, this is whenever the sociopaths that are on the left, that are, pretend like they should have the right or the ability to go ahead and dictate your day-to-day lives. This is whenever we started to come out, go against this. This is whenever we had the culture war. Ultimately, we kicked the shit out of them during the culture war. And, they never really fully recovered, slowly but surely, and it was just, allowing them, allow them their little platforms to go ahead and mock everybody here on the internet and whatnot. Less and less people started to realize that these people weren't so reliable. And so now we're at today where it's like the mainstream media as a whole, including Fox, they only really accumulate about 2% of the population in traffic. Less than 6 million people buy into these propaganda outlets, and pretty much a large majority, I would say at least 75%, probably realize that most of the stuff that you see on these mainstream media propaganda networks is nothing but a lie. So they don't invest so much in these psychological operations like they used to, which is really kind of hurting their fucking brand right now. Because if you're less inclined to go ahead and jump on board with the Ukraine, less inclined to go ahead and jump on with a Israel-Palestine thing, which they're trying to push that narrative. If you're less inclined to go ahead and interact with their news stories, then really at the end of the day, why do you need a propagandist? What good is a propagandist who has no influence whatsoever? They're absolutely worthless and completely expendable. And they're trying to get these grifters to come out on Twitter and YouTube to go ahead and see what they can influence and whatnot, and try to manipulate you into a superficial reaction, much like the media did. But they're not having the same kind of success as the mainstream media did. This is because whenever you have more competition in these places, the harder it is to go ahead and lock down a good portion of society, to go ahead and get them to follow along blindly. The best one at this right now seems to be Donald Trump and the MAGA movement, which I suspect has about 116 million strong followers for him, that's going to come out and kick the shit out of the Democrats. That right now is the best propaganda campaign that I see going right now. And the real reason it's the same thing that the Nazis did with the Weimar Republic. Whenever they used the Weimar Republic to go ahead and propel that Nazi party into popularity, is the same thing that the MAGA party is doing right now. And it's very effective to allow these idiots that are, pretty much for the most part, a lot of these people are diversity hires. A lot of these people don't have the capability of being as influential and successful. A lot of these people, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, would be better off going out and being that bartender that she was. In reality, this isn't me just trolling, but a lot of these people are not qualified for their positions, and they're not really good at communicating with people, and they're definitely not good at, hearing others' opinions. The more that they call everybody else a bigot, the more that you look like a bigot. So, of course, during this, they absolutely lost that propaganda war. They absolutely lost the culture war. This was devastating for them, and the way that we know this is that everybody during, I know that most of the people know, we all came out, and everybody came out in 2016, myself included, came out and supported Donald Trump. And the reason why they supported Donald Trump is because of these motherfuckers. Because of your Affordable Health Care Act, which you go ahead and use, and go ahead and pass that legislation of the Affordable Health Care Act, where you go ahead and you put a tax penalty on, millions and millions of Americans, and then you go ahead and put the burden on the people who have, health insurance. You raise their premiums and you raise their co-pays and stuff, so you can go ahead and subsidize. You go ahead and put that burden on 193 million Americans to subsidize 22 million Americans, and of course it was going to have disastrous consequences. It was an unconstitutional act, and the sure fact is that you got a bunch of lefty idiots that were, at that point in time had control of all the branches of the government, including the judicial branch, and it all ended up collapsing because, socialists can't generate wealth on their own. They have to rely on other people. They're parasites. That's exactly what they are. They feed on the production, prosperity, and quality of everybody else. They can't really produce anything. All they can do is sit there and suck off the government heat. And so that's what socialism is, and this is exactly why they can't really do anything productive in society. This is why they don't have any accomplishments. Name one accomplishment that the Democrats have had. You can't. You know what I'm saying? Something that has went successful for the Democrats. You just can't name it. So we'll go ahead and rigging elections, maybe that's it. But so this led to them creating HR 5181, the Countering Foreign Information Propaganda Disinformation Act. This is once again a smokescreen. On paper, the fucking leftist idiot shills will sit there and tell you, no, this is a good thing. It's trying to counter misinformation from other foreign governments and whatnot. But really, at the end of the day, it should be just Counter Information Act, where they were going to go ahead and use this to go ahead and take down channels like mine. I'm not a foreign agent. I'm just telling you exactly how it is. I'm telling you the truth. And various other motherfuckers that were out here that had quality channels that were taken down it was a result because of this HR 5181, this propaganda act, where you started to, allow them to, the State Department, to go ahead and censor and consider people dissidents and foreign agents and whatnot, just based on the sheer fact that they were going ahead and exposing the corruption and exposing the obvious ineptitude, like I would do quite a bit, in the federal government. So, yeah, they used this propaganda bill to go ahead and censor major aspects of the internet. So they're not for free speech neither, regardless of what they'll tell you. Maybe the right isn't for free speech neither. We're going to end up finding out really fucking quick whenever they end up winning in this incredible landslide that they're going to win in. It still remains to be seen that they're going to go ahead and stand by their virtues that they claim they stand behind. But, like, as of right now, compared to the Democrats, it's not even close, because they allowed you the chance to go ahead, the opportunity to go ahead and pass this bullshit legislation with the propaganda acts. So we know that you don't believe in information. We know you don't want a well-informed society. We know you don't want a well-educated society. You go ahead and look at the social programs as they've been implemented into the public school systems. You go ahead and put in $810 billion into those public school systems, and then you get pissed off whenever people sit there and talk about how we need to go ahead and decrease funding because these school systems are shit right now, and we're wasting almost $1 trillion annually in the education budget there. You know what I'm saying? You're just absolutely wasting money in these federal budgets, and we need to find out how we can go ahead and get the best product for the cheapest for the cheapest price. It's just conservatism. You know what I'm saying? The best product for the lowest cost. That's conservatism. And the Democrats don't understand this. You know what I'm saying? Because they believe that they're entitled to your money. So yeah, a lot of this information that's being put out there that we go ahead and present to you from the state side is being controlled by the states. And whenever you're going out there and you're exposing these issues, trying to go ahead and see if you can get some sort of solutions to a lot of these problems, they can't have those solutions. They rely on the problems and they market off of those problems, and that ends up being the issue right now with America as a whole. So we'll go ahead and go on to the next issue, which is, of course, we had and this is why I tell you right now that the Democrats don't believe in your right to choose. They don't believe in your right to medical privacy, which was the only right that ended up protecting that abortion rights. But whenever they went ahead and went with this little vaccination ID right here, that pretty much killed every argument for the right to privacy. You understand what I'm saying? So no longer can you go ahead and use Roe v. Wade, regardless it was a bullshit verdict to begin with. But with that being said, there's no real argument that you can make for Roe v. Wade, particularly whenever you have so many forms of birth control. So that little wedge issue that you think that you have, where you're going to go out there and say that the woman's right to choose is the most important topic on this ballot, you're absolutely 110% wrong, because the woman made the choice before she got pregnant, and on top of that, you got like how many choices? It's like several different fucking choices of birth control, at this point in time. You have so many choices out there then to give birth that really abortion is just the one choice that they're taking away. And so there's no real argument that they have going on. So this is their position. They don't believe in medical privacy. They don't believe in medical autonomy, and they damn sure don't believe in your right to choose. And this ends up being, they went ahead and did this medical apartheid, which is what it was. It was a medical apartheid. And, we're starting to see the effects of it. With this being said, you got to look at a USC 18, 241, and 242 at this point in time. Right now, they're lucky they're not under tribunals right now, as a whole, with these operations that they've performed. I mean, you got a bunch of sociopaths out there going ahead and pushing these agendas for these non-government agencies and whatnot to go ahead and take off for something that looked largely like a placebo and creating panic. So yeah, no doubt that this is the platform. This is 110% anything that the Democrats will sit there and tell you. It's absolutely, so this is, like I said, this is why it's going to be an absolute killing right now. So what did you get after your fucking commie cough, bullshitty fucking medical apartheid? You got the stimulus money. Now we're printing out more money. It's that Keynesian economics. Yes, Donald Trump was partially behind this stimulus. He made sure his name got on some of those checks. But this has ended up, even, causing more hyperinflation. So now you have the Democrats that are causing hyperinflation. They're going ahead and creating a, media state-controlled propaganda to go ahead and get the public to go ahead and use social engineering to get the public to go against constitutional rights, to go ahead and radicalize with operations like BLM, to go ahead and go against the Second Amendment rights, putting up false flags. You have them going out, passing legislation to go ahead and control the free flow of information, any kind of actual solutions to these issues that they're already creating. People going out there, countering the propaganda, trying to go ahead and maintain some sort of pragmatism in society, making these videos, trying to ride this storm and trying to go ahead and put out. And then you're subsidizing the less productive people at the expense of the more productive people, and we can see exactly where we're at in the country right now. And then you go ahead and print out, you go ahead and create this medical apartheid and then print out money because of this medical apartheid. You go ahead and use that as a placebo to go ahead and inflate our currency so much where you're going ahead and crashing our dollar. Simultaneously, while you're doing this stuff, you're doing the Inflation Reduction Act, which is going to be an arbitrary tax on society, on these businesses and whatnot. And so far, I've heard that the Family Dollar is going to close. You're going to look at Walgreens closing, Burger King closing. There's like 8 or 9 brands that are going to end up closing. You're going to lose a lot of jobs after you go ahead and repeal those tax cuts that these big corporations went ahead and created jobs because of these tax cuts. To go ahead and get a tax cut, they created a job just to go ahead and get that tax cut. And now you're taking those tax cuts away, and on top of that, taking those tax cuts away, these companies are going to be forced to go ahead and get rid of some of those jobs that they created to go ahead and bring down that unemployment. So they're going to have to get rid of those jobs. You're going to increase unemployment, and then you're going to go ahead and do an arbitrary tax where you're going to go ahead and go after private businesses and get these private businesses to shut down, so you can go ahead and centralize as much of the economy as you try to want to and whatnot, using your own brand of fascism, your loyalist and stuff like that, where you're going to go ahead and reduce the level of competition. That's exactly what the Inflation Reduction Act is in a nutshell. They'll go ahead and claim that, it's some sort of climate help bill and all this other bullshit that they try and throw in there with their pork barrel spending. But this is exactly why they went ahead and passed that Inflation Reduction Act. So now you're hyperinflating the dollar. You're making the dollar worth less and less, the prices of everything going up, and now you're going ahead and arbitrarily taking jobs out of the workforce right now and causing more poverty and more debt. And this is exactly what the Democrats do. They did it here in Texas back in the 80s and the 90s. This is why they're no longer allowed in Texas. This is why they're no longer welcome in Texas. And this is why we don't take them serious as a candidate whatsoever. So now we go into where they're at, their last position, which is a global conflict. The Democrats have been trying to go ahead and get us into war with Russia since the 1960s. That was the ultimate boogeyman, was communism. We needed to get into war. They've been pushing for World War III since the 60s, and it really hasn't stopped. They kick off with the Ukraine bullshit that they had built up in 2013 and 2014. Unfortunately for them, the internet was around, and people were able to go ahead and get out all their corruption, and the scandals that happened back in 2014 have been on the internet for years. So, then they kick off the Israel-Palestine thing where they're trying to push us into a global conflict. So, global war, world wars, civil wars, they don't care. They're desperate. They just want you to fight them. They're not going to fight them. They're going to come up on their little Twitters, their little, NPRs, all their media outlets, and they're going to come out there and they're going to rebel rouse. Nobody's listening to you anymore. Like 6 million of the population. And that Trump base is at 116 million. And that other 63% of the population, the majority of the population, doesn't want to have anything to do with either party. You know what I'm saying? You have about 10% that's going to go ahead and support Trump. I got that Trump MAGA base at 35% of the population right now. Only 2% of that population supports the Democrats. It's already over. The election's already over, and it's not even going to be close. And in fact, I do believe that the Republicans take back the House and the Senate, and then you're going to have your opportunity to go ahead and see how you can govern society. Can you govern? Are you going to fall back into the same corruption? I suspect that's probably what it is. I really suspect at the end of the day they're all kind of working together. So it's just going to be the same type of corruption with just different people running it. And, they're going to push the same policies until we've had enough of it and we say, okay, that's it. None of you deserve to have this much power and influence over the world. So, so they're not anti-war neither. They're pro-war, they're pro-hyperinflation, they're pro-controlling your life, they're pro-controlling the information and controlling, you're influencing you. And they really think that you're this dumb to come out and vote for them in 81 million in 2020. And I don't believe that's the case at all. I believe that the Democrat Party is absolutely dead. I believe it died in the 80s. It actually died in the 70s, if you want to be honest with you. And I believe that they've done every fucking thing to go ahead and get these Jimmy Carters, Bill Clintons, and Barack Obamas into office. And I don't even really consider Joe Biden a president. So, I mean, over the past, 40 or 50 years, there's only really been 3 Democrat presidents. And, for the most part, the party has been absolutely fucking garbage. But this is the platform. It's pro-war. It's pro-controlling your life. It's pro, them taking money and putting it into kickbacks, going ahead and deflating your dollar, making your life harder. They're not helping you whatsoever. And I guarantee you, I can go ahead, if a Democrat wants to sit there and explain how all these policies were effectively supposed to benefit society, be my guest, because I guarantee you, everybody wants a good laugh of you sitting there lying to your fucking self. That's what everybody's doing. Everybody else in reality that's not a fucking brainwashed communist is absolutely laughing at you. So you can sit there and say I'm in a fucking cult and I've been brainwashed and all this other shit, but I would definitely like you to go ahead and explain how all these systems that you've implemented back in the days effectively benefited society. And this is exactly why I think the Republicans are going to beat the fuck out of the Democrats. 533 to 6 is what I have it at right now. It may be 530 to 9 or something, but they're going to get their fucking asses whipped. The Democrats are absolutely done as the party. I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to vote, but nobody reasonable is going to vote for the shit that the Democrats are putting up and have put up. And I don't give a fuck what they're saying in Europe. You're lucky that you even still have your little fucking cul-de-sacs that you can go into and call me a bigot and a racist and all this other bullshit. But I definitely don't give a fuck about your opinion because it's absolute trash. So anyways, you people, tell me what you think. You like, sub, do the shit the internet tells me to do to get over, even though I'm shadow banned. And for now, I'm out.